I know it's late, but like people on the Titanic would have said, it's better late than never. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am your host, Tom Grossi, and we're going to be breaking down Week 10 NFL studs and duds. I went 1-1 in my Patreon leagues, but 1-3 over the weekend across all of my leagues as things are getting dire over in fantasy land because for whatever reason, everyone on my team just forgets how to score points week after week after week after week. But listen, we still got a couple weeks left in the fantasy season. There's not many now, as we're starting to gear up for playoffs, at least in fantasy land. So I don't have much time. Yeah, so I need some of you in the Packcast leagues to start sucking, like real bad. If you could do that, that would be great. But let's take a look at some of the studs to start for this weekend. First, you have the Ravens defense going against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Ravens defense has been pretty inconsistent all year, but as of late, they've been doing pretty damn well, and as of this video, they were still available in a majority of my leagues, and so I would take a look at picking them up because they are playing the Cincinnati Bengals this week, and especially with no A.J. Green, yeah, I think they're going to do pretty darn well. I wouldn't doubt if this is a little bit of a closer game than expected, if it's a low-scoring game just because it's a division rival, but I think the Ravens defense, especially if your defense is out on a bye or, you just need to go dumpster diving, the Ravens are a pretty good pick for you this week. Then, moving on, this pains me, but DJ Moore, the wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, going up against the Packers secondary. Now, Packers secondary did a pretty good job against guys like Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, even though they had some big plays. But DJ Moore is a pretty damn good weapon for them, and I'm sure that they're going to use plenty of Christian McCaffrey, leaving the passing lanes wide open across the middle of the field, especially if Blake Martinez is in coverage. And so DJ Moore, I think, is a safe pick for you this week, going at wide receiver. Then, number 3, I'm actually going to go with it. This is a little bit of a sleeper pick, but I feel confident enough to say he's going to be a stud, and that is Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, who a couple weeks ago threw 4 touchdowns against the Lions, was absolutely incredible. Had a little bit of a down game last week against the Cowboys, but is going against the other New Jersey dumpster fire, and that is the Jets, who, yeah, with C.J. Mosley, that secondary and that backfield just struggles immensely. And I think that Daniel Jones will be able to break off some runs. He'll be able to put up some points and put up some TDs. And so because of that, I think he's a pretty safe start for you. Then, moving on to our sleepers. Yeah, I know, you're going to, I couldn't put him in a stud, but it's actually the other New Jersey quarterback, and that is Sam Darnold. Besides seeing ghosts on every single Sunday, even though we are way past Halloween at this point, the Giants secondary is also terrible. I would not be surprised if this turns out into a good old-fashioned shootout, in which both defenses are terrible, both offenses aren't that great, but who knows, maybe Sam Darnold will get it going, but I do believe in Daniel Jones a little bit more than Sam Darnold, hence why he's over in the studs and Darnold is over in the sleeper. But if you're like super desperate for quarterback because yours is just not around, maybe you roll with Sam Darnold. Then, moving on to the duds, keeping up with the QBs, and that's good old Baker Mayfield is going to continue on this list. He's been on this list before, and he makes the list again. The Browns right now are just not doing well. And going up against a pretty good Bills secondary and a Bills team, especially defense, I think that the Bills will keep Baker Mayfield in check. Who knows if they're going to get anything going in this game. But yeah, Baker Mayfield for me has just been too dangerous to trust as of lately. And I think unless you absolutely have to play him, you could avoid him. I would pay Daniel Jones over Baker Mayfield this week. Then this pains me again, but Geronimo Allison, the wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers going up against the Panthers, whose secondary is not that great. Their pass rush is much better, but Geronimo Allison has just not been improving. He's not been putting up numbers. He's not getting a whole lot of targets. With Davante Adams back, I thought maybe he would get a little more. He would get more looks, considering the secondaries would be more focused on Davante Adams, but he barely got targeted last week, and I think until Geronimo Allison, this goes for MVS too, I think until either of those guys emerge as being staples of that offense, they're just too dangerous to play, and they have a big risk of putting up a big old 0 for you. And then finally, the guy who I think has been on the duds the most this year, that is Devonta Freeman, going up against the Saints this week. The Saints have a good run defense. Devonta Freeman has been absolutely a bust for this year and has just been flat out awful. The Falcons, they're utilizing the passing game and not really even looking at the running game, and especially not looking at Freeman. And I don't think they're going to find a lot of success, because if they fall behind early, they're not going to be utilizing Freeman a whole lot. They'll be going to the air even more. So I say Freeman's a bad pick this week. I'm sorry if you drafted him. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you got your own studs, you got your own duds, hopefully your fantasy leagues are doing much better than mine, and may the playoffs be ever in your favor. But let me know. You could always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at Tom Grossi Comedy. All the social media see down below. Check out Patcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course, the YouTubes. And a big shout out and thank you all the Patreon members over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. The interview with the Panthers fan will be out later this evening. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.